And welcome to another edition of Hoops Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. Episode number 93. We're getting closer to 100. We're inching there. We're getting there. I know I've been off a couple weeks. I've been all over the place between jamborees, hosting the camp, a little bit of everything. So finally got a little bit of downtime before the season kicks off, and have some more events to travel to over the next 2 weeks in between games. But in the midst of going to a jamboree, we met our guest tonight, and it just so happens she is at my alma mater, so that was somewhat special to me as well. We got Coach Jackie Alexander from the University of Toledo's women's program. How you doing today?
I'm good, David. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. You know, when I saw you, I said, hey, you're close to my heart. When I saw you on Saturday, I said, I'm getting to know the new regime there. And, we sat down and talked for a while. And I said, hey, I'd love to bring you on to introduce people that don't know about University of Toledo, especially in the South where I'm at in Atlanta. So we talk more about the program. And here we are tonight.
For sure. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Yeah. When you said, "Oh, just the person I need to talk to," I was like, "Uh-oh, what did I
do?" Absolutely. And when we got to talking, as we were, looking at players, I knew a whole bunch about Toledo since I went there, and I said, "Hey, it would be a good idea to get you introduced to people in the South that don't know much about the MAC conference as well as the University of Toledo." So we're going to jump right into that. This is your first year at Toledo. You guys are new there, your first year there. Tell us more about Toledo so you can introduce the program to everybody.
For sure. Yeah. I always kind of lead with the last 3 years. I was at an institution that I loved, really good program, really good people. And those are things that are kind of at the forefront of what I look for. And so when Coach Jenny Boggess approached me with the opportunity to work at the University of Toledo, the things at the forefront of Toledo that I was really interested in were the people and the community that come along with Toledo. And so that's the biggest thing with the University of Toledo. We average nearly 4,200 fans per women's basketball game. And that has been consistent across the last 10 plus years. Yes. And so I like to say, women's basketball in Toledo has been popular long before this last wave of popularity, before it was, quote, cool. And that's something that I had known about UT before I came here, and something that I just wanted to be a part of. And for me, all of the decisions in my life are based around the people. And so getting to be on a coaching staff under Coach Jenny Boggess, with Coach Jeff Lanier, with Takima Keene, our Dobo Megan Thornburg, our GA Jada Tate, the people were a big reason why I chose to come to UT. So, and I think that every decision, the decision should be led with, hey, what kind of people and relationships am I going to have? And for me, Toledo checked all of those boxes. So.
And I couldn't agree with you more on what you just said. And a lot of people don't know how close-knit the community is in the city with the program. Hence, that's why Toledo leads the MAC as well as is one of the top attendings for women's basketball all around. And, I was there in the 90s, and it was like that when I was there. So, like you said, this isn't something that just happened with the new craze. No, it's been like that for a long time, 35 plus years, easy. And, when I was there in the early 90s, I used to go to the games because those games were fun. The team was good. They were winning even then at the time. So, they have a tradition of winning. They've always been one of the top programs in the MAC, and quite honestly, one of the top mid-majors in the country as well. And, when Savage Hall gets the rock, and then, one thing I have to give the AD and the athletic department a lot of credit. They put a lot of time and work into what is Toledo because, I also let people know Toledo's at the forefront of a lot of other things as well. Toledo was one of the first schools that played football on a Tuesday and Friday night because they couldn't get on ESPN on Saturdays. So they negotiated with ESPN, and that's how that craze started with Tuesday night football, Thursday night and Friday, because Toledo was trying to get on ESPN, and it worked. It worked really well for them. And, when you have that type of athletic administration, along with a host of coaches that've been there, Toledo has knocked it out the park each time with a hire on the women's program. And they've done well on the men's side as well. But the women's program is a juggernaut at the top of the MAC. Everybody knows if you're going to win the MAC, you got to come through Toledo. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. And, the thing I love as well, Toledo also has a history of sending young ladies overseas as well, which a lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. The last two players of the year and recent graduates at UT, both are overseas right now. And we have some future pros on the roster as well. So we're excited to keep that trend moving forward.
Absolutely. So for people that don't know, before we get into Toledo, let's talk about the MAC conference and how good the MAC conference is as one of the premier mid-major conferences in the country.
For sure. Yeah. As a coach in this region in past years, the MAC was a conference that I always looked at as arguably one of the best mid-major conferences in women's basketball. And quite honestly, a conference that I wanted to be a coach in, just to experience that high level of play, the high level of, opposing coaches who are, mastermind tacticians that you're going to go against every game. Toledo has been, a heck of a coach that just, left the program to pursue opportunity at the University of Miami in Florida. Trisha Cullop, they won the last 3 regular season MAC titles. And they went to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago and upset Iowa State in the first round. So, with that being said, there is a level to NCAA Division I, and Toledo's in that mid-major category. However, they are competing with, P4 or 5, whatever you want to call it now, schools, as are other MAC schools, as are other MAC teams. And I say that all of that to say that it's not always the level, it's the quality of the product. And I feel as if the MAC, has a lot of high quality products in the teams that it has.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, yes, Toledo's a juggernaut, but you have Kent State, you have Miami, you have some of these other schools that are very good, Ball State as well, in the MAC that are, it's not just Toledo and the rest of the MAC. No, the MAC is a quality conference from top to bottom. And, that's where, with me being here in Atlanta, people are like, oh, yeah, I've heard of them, but they don't know much about them. And I'm like, man, listen, as a mid-major, you need to pay attention. That's a good look for somebody to go there. It's a great community. It's a great fit. And for people that are big on stuff like that outside of athletics, that's where Toledo is a good fit, because the campus, and I can speak on it, it's a beautiful campus. I'm sure when you went to interview, if you went in the summertime or springtime, when they got the grass cut and everything
gorgeous.
Looks nice, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a selling point. It's a definite selling point. When you come in right off of Dorr Street, you're like, oh, man, this is nice. This is real nice.
Right.
But tell us about the program and your expectations for this year, because like I said, this is you guys' first year there. You may have different expectations on how you may want to run things compared to how Coach Cullop did it last time. Tell us what's going to be the expectation this year.
Yeah, we're really excited to have, inherited a program that has had a number of really good coaches in the past. And for me personally, that was a big reason why I wanted to work at the University of Toledo. As an assistant coach, I've been a part of numerous rebuilds, but I had not been a part of coming into an already successful program and maximizing what is already here. And so for us, we have the same expectations. We came to Toledo. Coach Jenny Vargas, was quoted recently, "You don't come to Toledo to be average." And so we have no expectation of being average. We definitely want to be above average. And so we have the same, the expectation is the same. It might look a little different, but the expectation is still to, win the MAC, compete at a very high level, be good teammates, and none of that really changes.
and yes, that I couldn't agree with you more, because as I said earlier, you already are coming into a winning program, and the last couple of coaches have been very successful. So like you said, you've been handed the keys to a pretty good run, and the expectation, quite honestly, I mean, the fans are spoiled now, so they're going to want you guys to keep that thing rolling, and which leads to the roster for this year. Tell us about the roster for the 24-25 team?
For sure, we have 6 returners, a group of seniors, actually, all seniors, and then we have one transfer from Toledo area, and then we have 6 freshmen. So we are, really excited about the roster that we've been able to put together. The young guys are eager. They're excited to learn. Talked a lot to them about finding joy in the learning process. Because sometimes as a freshman, this is for all the people listening and the parents out there. As a freshman, you sometimes have an identity crisis when you come into college because, you're not, you may have been one of one on your high school or your AAU team and not used to playing with other players. And sometimes that's a bit of it's hard, it's a hard adjustment. And so really, really excited about the roster, though. We have young guys that are eager to learn, and then we have upperclassmen who are ready to teach them and show them the reins and like the Toledo way of how things are done. So we're really excited about the roster.
And what type of schedule do you have lined up and non-conference wise? We know the MAC's going to be tough, but non-conference games, what are you looking at this year from November to January?
For sure, yeah. We have an exhibition game actually next Sunday against Findlay, and then we have right into conference play. So we'll have 2 games that we do the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. That first opponent's already set. We'll play Marshall, and then the second one it's determined later on, kind of by the standings. We'll play several Power 4 or 5 opponents. We have Arkansas on the schedule, potential to play Maryland. I'm missing one. I believe there's one more. So we're going to be tested early, which is good. That's what we want. We want to be tested early, kind of see where we stack up and feel prepared as we go into conference play. So we're excited about it. I think, we're at the point in the season now, like we've played each other and the scout guys so many times. We're ready to play someone else. Mm-hmm. And we're excited to see kind of where we stack up.
So for people that are not familiar with Toledo, tell us a little bit more about Toledo, the school. What type of majors are prevalent there where maybe a lot of the players major in, or what type of majors where Toledo's known for that might be attractive for a recruit?
For sure. The amazing thing about Toledo as a state university, you can pretty much major in anything that you want to study. And our coaching staff, I gotta give a big shout out to Coach Jenny Bogus, as she is very big on our players being able to major in whatever they want to major in, because there's going to come a day where the ball stops bouncing. And that's really important that, for us, for our staff, that you come to Toledo and you pursue something that you're passionate about, so that when basketball is over, you're ready to embark on a career that you're excited about and ready to, give back to the community where you live. And so for us, we have several education majors right now. And that's a little interesting in Division I basketball, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to do your student teaching eventually, and that can impact, a practice schedule. But we have 2 education majors on the team right now. We have 4 nursing majors. That's another one. It's a big time commitment with your clinicals and things like that. But we are, very big on people being able to major in, what they want to do. Outside of those, though, psychology is a big one here at University of Toledo, and we also have a really good engineering program. There's an entire school of engineering, a brand new building. It's tremendous. So education-wise, Toledo is top tier. I'm really excited to be a part of that.
So, since we're talking about academics, how does it work out for you guys? Do you like to practice early in the morning? Do you like to practice at night? Does it determine on your, the players' class schedule? How do you guys like to practice?
So we do around the players' class schedule. Like I said, we have, education majors, nursing majors. There are different sections of different classes. And so we pretty much have the players schedule their classes, and we fit in practice around that. Now, there are times of adjustment, because at some point, maybe we can't fit it in based on the schedules. But again, we're willing to be flexible because we care about the academic side of things as well.
Understood. And do you have study hall is that a mandatory thing for like freshmen, or is it mandatory for everybody? How does that work?
For sure. We do have study hall, and we're big on that. We have an academic coordinator. I'm sorry, there's someone outside my house. I know we're live, but so we have an academic coordinator who helps us with that. But as a freshman, you're mandated to have study hall, and then as you progress and you prove, your worth, we are okay, moving you out of study hall, downgrading your hours, whatever that looks like, because each person is different. So that's another thing about the University of Toledo. The academic resources are top notch. We pride ourselves on that, and we're very fortunate with the young ladies that we have, on the squad, having over a 3.8 GPA last semester. And, that's kind of part of the Toledo way, the culture and understanding that, hey, you got to get it done in the classroom.
And I love that part about Toledo. I kind of led you into that because, I knew, the type of culture they have. And I just wanted people to understand that, with it being, a state school and a very good university, that people, something people need to pay attention to. Let me ask this. And, like we said earlier in the show, we were out together watching some potential prospects for the future. And I always like to bring this up because a lot of people don't understand what you guys are actually looking for, what you pay attention to. And I wanted to touch on a little bit of that. When you're out at events, whether it's high school, JUCO, whatever the case may be, let's start there. What are you looking for in a prospect that may catch your attention? Like, that's somebody that's a fit for Toledo.
For sure. We kind of have 4 things that are big as we navigate the recruiting process with athletes. And those are being self-motivated, a good teammate, being competitive, and loving basketball. And sometimes, you might say, well, how do you know all those things from just watching me play? And the thing is, being self-motivated, you can see what kind of motor does motor is, how hard you're playing, how hard you're competing on every possession. We're able to see that from watching you, whether we come to a practice, an open gym, watching you at a jamboree, a scrimmage, a real game. We're able to get a feel for that. And then being a good teammate, how I'll be honest, at the jamboree I was at where you were, I was standing up top at one point so I could see the bench a little bit better. And just seeing how young ladies interact with their teammates, interact with their coaches. One player in particular really caught my eye because, she blew a layup, it was actually a post player back to the basket move. And her coach is, teaching and coaching her from the sideline, telling her to use a counter move. So the next time down, she gets the ball again, she uses the counter move. And it's like, I was just, yes, girl, just the ability to be coached and comprehend and then apply. But, the first step of that is really just being able to take that coaching, that got you, coach. And that's, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. And so then, just being a good teammate, that goes into that. And then loving basketball. I think a lot of, we all started playing basketball because we loved it. At the end of the day, we all started. And then as we get older and psychological things happen, other reasons, kind of introduce themselves of why we're playing, whether it's, because it can give us certain things or make a pathway for other things. But at the end of the day, there's something, beautiful and joyful in playing because we love the game. And you're going to, I always say you're going to treat things differently when you love it. And so we kind of find out, you can see that with how you play and how you approach every possession, but we also find that out in the recruiting process and getting to know, student athletes and things like that. But those are kind of the big 4. You notice I did not say anything about how many points you score or how many rebounds you get, things like that. All of that gets a little convoluted, I think. Yes, you need some skill, but we really value those intangible things because if you have those, you're kind of like a piece of putty. You can be molded into really whatever. So those are the big things that we look for.
I love what you just said, and what you just said just correlates so much to what we talk about on this show time and time again. You just said it in a different wording, but it was the same thing. How well do you process? That's the biggest thing. How well do you process? Because sometimes coaches could be yelling, and sometimes some kids don't take well to hard coaching. Sometimes they need to be prodded, say, okay, come on, let's go next time, pat on the behind, go get them. Then, there's other coaches that are rah-rah coaches. I'm like, listen, what are you doing? I
Mhm.
need you to do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you need to understand, like, can they react in those type of tough settings, or is it a type, and your coach better than anybody. So it may be a situation to be like, oh, if they can't handle that, this may
Mhm.
not be a fit for them. Or if they're the same style of coach that, they're kind of laid back and be like, listen, I'm going to hold you accountable, but I'm just not a in your face type of person. That may be a fit for your coach, because that coach better than anybody that's there.
Mhm.
And I always like to touch on that. And then you knocked it out the park when you said, okay, yes, we all like to see, okay, this kid is incredibly talented. This kid is an excellent rebounder. This kid is a
Mhm.
great defender. Of course, we're looking at that. But what people don't understand, we're also looking at, when they come out the game, are they moping because they got right out the game for a couple minutes? Do they have an attitude while they're on the bench, just sitting at the end of the bench? Can I get back in, coach? Coach, can I get back in? Or are you actually cheering for your teammates and actually showing that you're a good teammate? Like you said, at timeout, those reserves may have came and made a run and got them back in the game. Are they the first one off the bench, high fiving and all that? You guys look for that type of culture, because if not,
Mhm.
you don't want the quote unquote cancer on your team that could kill that team spirit.
For sure. For sure. Could not agree with you more. And I think, to your point about the style of coaching, I think there are levels to that. Once you build a relationship and your players know that you love them, there is a, how you can coach them, that I would say that broadens a little bit.
Yes.
But I think, with that too, something that I've really been thinking about as an assistant coach and listening and learning about is, the teaching aspect. Like, are we teaching them to understand? Because I was listening to another thing, psychology related, and humiliation, as a feeling, is really high up there with, like, detrimental, like with grief, for
Mhm.
instance. And so as we're coaching, like, are we humiliating and getting onto them, or are we teaching them and helping them learn and grow? Because we're coaches. That's our profession. That's what we're called to do, And so I think, just understanding, like, as an assistant, I've just grown so much. And hey, do I have the relationship? Am I teaching? Am I loving? And then how you can coach them, that it just really broadens and opens things up. So, I'm, proud of that as a coach. And I think that is just so helpful. Just a little nugget there too.
And I want to expand on some things that you talked about, because we talked a bunch, at the Jamboree. How important, and I ask every coach this because I can't hammer this home enough. How is important is it for a freshman or a JUCO player or somebody just new to the program to come in and actually know the shell drill defensively?
I laughed when I saw that on your list of questions. I would say that is pretty important. And I think, for especially for programs that value defense, I think just being able to have a foundation of, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so then when we get into the little intricacies of, okay, maybe, we're a gap team and not a denied team. Okay, when do I leave my gap? When am I needed? When am I not needed? Because when you have the foundation, we can stack and build on the little intricacies a little
Mhm.
quicker. And now it's okay if you don't know, but having that little bit of foundation does help. So love that question.
And that, I always ask that because some freshmen aren't taught that. So when they actually get to
Hmm.
campus, they're lost. So when
Hmm.
sometimes, depending on the program, the expectation is you already know that, especially when it's a high level of basketball like mid-major and up. And then not just mid-major, I mean D2s and NAIs expect that as well. And
Hmm.
so when you get there, sometimes that could put you a little behind that same person you're competing against for a position, because you have to learn that on the fly.
Hmm.
And with you learning that on the fly, you know, for you, when you go into your coaches' meetings at night and this player's 1A, this other player's 1B, that could be one of those things that could give them the small advantage, and
Hmm.
I'm not trying to, you know, make anybody nervous that are
You're trying to tell all
45
these high
degrees.
school coaches to
Yeah.
put the shell drill in, aren't you?
Exactly, because it helps so much outside. It helps just defensive principles, knowing when to help, knowing when to drop down and help, when there's other situations arise. Because, like you said, you're going
Mhm.
to build on whether you're a denied team or whether you're not. So
Mhm.
that's something of variation that you're going to teach regardless. But I
For
just
sure.
always say, at least know the basics. Don't come in there like,
Yeah.
what shell? You be like, uh-oh.
Right.
You got some
Right.
teaching to do. You're going to have to stay after practice.
And I think again, that's a good point too. Like we have some teaching to do. So okay, maybe you didn't come from a high school program who is well versed in the shell drill. Okay, well, how malleable are you? How willing are you to learn? And then how quickly can you take that knowledge, comprehend it, and then apply it?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the biggest thing for I think everybody loves to do things with the ball,
Yeah.
when we're training skill development, but how much are we doing without the basketball? How much
Right.
are we doing defensively? And I think for young athletes, that those are the separators. Like for me, what I'm seeing is, the biggest struggles are not having to do with the ball. It's spatially, it's defense spatially. There's a defensive, we talk about offensive chemistry, but there's also defensive chemistry.
Mhm.
How well can we adapt to that, when we get to a new program or what it may be? So that's a good question though.
And, and while we're talking this, the other thing I'm big on as well, a lot of kids, some high schools do a good job of this. I'm not saying, especially the top tier programs,
Hmm.
you have to get in there and watch video and watch tape. And it's not just your coaches, because when you're playing and you're preparing for this other team, you're looking for tendencies to give you an advantage. Like if you're guarding the all conference guard, you need to know, okay, yes, she has this first move, but she has a second, third, and fourth move usually as
Hmm.
well. So you need to watch over and over. You need to watch game 1, game 2, and game 3, because she may not have shown move 3 or 4 until
Hmm.
then, because that first team has scouted her really hard and be like, okay, she's going to do this if
Hmm.
in this situation. She's going to do that in this situation. So naturally, she's ready for that. So she knows, okay, they're going to take this away. Okay, I'm going to give the inclination I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go to my third move that they haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
So, as coaches, you're preparing them for that. You're going to say, hey, be ready for this, this, and this. And of course, they can say, I got you, coach. I got you, coach. But like you said, until you've seen that live, you're like, oh, okay. I didn't know she
Hmm.
could do that. And she could do it that well also. So
Right.
it's preparation outside of you all just guiding them. And that comes to how bad you want it. And there's a difference. It's a level between high school and college, how well you're prepared for a team, because, a lot of times kids like to just depend on athleticism. Oh, well, I'm good. I'm athletic enough to recover. No, it's not the case a
Hmm.
lot of times when you're going from high school to college. And they learn that in practice even before the game, because those juniors, seniors will be like, oh, that's a freshman move right there. And that's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
And they like to teach that. So, and
Hmm.
then that becomes basically your job to say, okay, that doesn't work. That worked in high school. And you're not saying it derogatory, of course, but you're letting them know like that's a common move that everybody knows. So you're going to have to do some adjustment, or you're going to teach them on the fly, stuff like that. And I think those are the things that separate the players that you can see, oh, they're going to be good in the future because they're going to practice it without practice. They're going to stay for extra shots. They're going to work on their game. And I'm pretty sure you guys have a player development person there, but how much are they doing that stuff on their own as well?
For sure. Yeah. And we do, we have position groups. Here at Toledo, we have position groups and developmental groups. So, our position groups are by position naturally, and then
Mhm.
developmental groups are just a time when we work more. Maybe you don't have it in your bag right now, but it's something that you want to work on. And so we're going to use that time to do that. And then in our position groups, maybe we're a little more focused on, hey, these are the skills we need and what we do, and just refining things. And we put a lot of, the amazing thing about Coach Jenny Bogus is she puts a premium on that player development piece. And you can see that across, her track record as a head coach, the players that they had in Monmouth and where they were maybe in year one, and then how much they progressed in year two when they won the championship. And then year three, when they won, I think they won 23, 24 games last season with the same, squad of players. And you're not going to get that everywhere. But it's amazing, how much Coach Jenny cares about that, how much, flexibility and trust she has in our coaching staff to, get players to where they want to be. And it's fun. I mean, as an assistant coach, as a coach, period, the most fun thing is being on the court with the players. People, I love when people are like, well, so what do you do besides like coach? Oh, there's, like coaching on the floor is probably the least of what we get to do, And so that time that we have to spend, with the players on the court is the best. So.
And I'm glad you said that. I think it's important for people to understand, whether it's Toledo or any other program, perspective that they're looking at, it's that team camaraderie. Like, you guys, yes, you spend a good portion of your time on the court, but you guys also do a lot of things off the court, free time, like in just getting to know each other. You have events where you go out or, you may go over to coach's house or, you guys do a number of things. And I think those team bondings are just as important as the on-court stuff as well.
For sure. And I think those are good questions. You kind of lead me into something else. Good questions to ask in the recruiting process. What does your team do or have in place for team building, for individual professional development, all those sorts of things? Like what does the coaching staff organize, and then what's maybe organized organically by the players, things like that, because those extra things, like what do you do for community service? It's just, as women's basketball players and coaches, we have such a tremendous platform to serve other people. And especially in a community that pours so much into our program here at UT, we have the platform to really give back. And I love that. And our entire athletic department does a great job at that here at UT. And, I'm big on, servant leadership, and, I can get into that too, but big on that, and love that our program and our athletic department really puts a premium on that. And then as far as the team building stuff, we're really big on, there has to be a sense of vulnerability that's created by the players with each other, with the coaching staff, really getting to know each other and building those relationships like I talked about earlier, because those relationships transcend to what we're trying to do on the court. And you see that, when times get tough, maybe we're down 10 at the media in the third quarter, are we strong enough to rally together and come back from that? And all that extra stuff that you do, I am a firm believer that it contributes into your success on the court. So
I like that. And this is a question that while you were talking, and where, it just led me into this. You said earlier, the ball's going to stop bouncing at some point. And, some people like to get into coaching. Some people, like to move on into whether they're going to be a nurse or doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever the case may be. If I come to you, or if I come to coach and say, hey, I want to get into coaching, can I come back to Toledo or to the staff and possibly be a GA?
Yeah, I think, those are opportunities that are always out there. I can speak on my own journey. So I had another career before I got into coaching, but all of the coaches that I transferred. I went to Army West Point my freshman year, and then I transferred to an NAIA school in Kentucky. And then I ended up serving 4 years in the Army after college. So, but I always knew I wanted to coach. And so I kept in touch with the coaches that I had at Army. And so as I'm getting ready to get out of the military and pursue coaching, two of the coaches that coached me for that brief period of time at Army, had opportunities for me to work on they had parted ways with Army and had opportunities for me to work on their staff. And so that's the cool thing about coaching. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into coaching, build relationships with your coaches, because coaching is a small world. Your coaches have relationships with other coaches. Maybe there's not an opportunity per se at your alma mater, but there are plenty of opportunities out there. But how you carry yourself as a player, as a young adult, as a professional, as a leader, all of those things are kind of building your resume, with your current coaches, not necessarily on paper, but, as an individual for you to get that next opportunity. You know, one of my previous bosses and mentor, Colleen Mullen at Albany, she, you know, always talked to me. I was her Dobo, and I wanted to be an assistant coach so badly. And she's like, you know, always like work for the job that you want. Like, you know, perform as if you're in the job that you want, and you'll get the job that you want. And she really kind of, you know, led me and helped me grow into that. And so, yeah, like I'm babbling now, but yeah, there are plenty of opportunities, you know, to get into coaching, and it's all with relationships. You see a theme in what I'm saying. The relationships are everything, literally everything.
Yes, they are, especially in this business. Absolutely. And there's one last thing I want to touch on as well. Can we just please let the people, the parents and the players know the importance of taking care of business in the classroom?
For sure. I mean, that's like I said in the beginning, you know, the ball's going to stop bouncing eventually, even if you play professionally, you know, no matter what route you take, you know, even if you decide to pursue coaching, you still have to have a degree. And so taking care of business in the classroom, it also is a testament to, in my opinion, what kind of person you are, because how you approach anything is how you approach everything.
Yeah.
And so what is going to lead me to believe, you know, as a young person, if you're not taking care of business in the classroom, that you're going to take care of business on the court, that you're going to, you know, have the, you know, tenacity on the court, or the discipline to study the scouting report. And, you know, I'm just big on personal pride. Like, again, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So be your best. You know, why not be your best in every single aspect of your life? And if you're giving it your best, you know, that's all you can do, and you can walk away being happy with that.
I like that. I mean, you're basically just speaking. It speaks on your character. I couldn't agree with you more. Last question. You know, I just love, you know, the answers you're giving. Why Toledo? If I'm a parent or prospect and I'm watching this, why Toledo?
The people, 100% the people. You know, I think it's big results through relationships, and the people. When you're my age, when you're 32 and you're looking back on your college experience, you're not necessarily going to remember the new Kobe shoes we got, or the nice hoodie, or this. And yeah, that stuff is great. And we have, you know, we have nice things here at the University of Toledo. We play in Savage Arena, like, in my opinion, arguably the best facility in the MAC, and one of the best in mid-major. But regardless of all of that, everything is about the people. The people make your experience. The people, your teammates, are who you're going to be, you know, in the trenches with every day. Your coaches, those are the people that are your family away from your family. You know, the ones who are going to love you when you have a meltdown, or, you know, things don't go maybe the way you thought on a test. That's who you're going to be calling. And so definitely the people. And I can speak for that, you know, like why I came here. You know, I sometimes say being an assistant coach is kind of like being a recruit in a way. You know, when you're looking for, hey, like, where do I want to work? Who do I want to work for? It's a little bit of the same. And for me, you know, every decision that I, you know, make in my life has to do with the people. So there are a lot of great programs, a lot of programs that win. But, you know, what are the people like that are associated with those programs?
Yeah. And, you know, I think what you just said hits home. You know, when this ball stops bouncing, you want it to be where, you know, 10, 15 years from now, you're getting invited to weddings. You're getting invited you're getting pictures of baby showers and stuff like that. That lets you know you've done something correct as a coaching staff.
For sure. And not only that, it's, you know, as a person, those 4 years in college are such an influential time on who you're going to be and what you're going to become. And you don't realize that when you're 17 making that decision, that decision, like, honestly shapes a lot of who you are and who you're going to become. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, iron sharpens iron, and we truly have the ability to, you know, engage and develop those people around us. And when you're part of a women's basketball team, you're spending 99.9% of your time with those people. So I just think that's something that a lot of times is missed in the decision-making process. You know, it's great. Like, do they have my major? Do they have a nice arena? Are they Nike or Adidas? You know, all those things that we like have on our checklist. But, you know, the biggest thing is the people. And am I going to like who I become in those 4 years because of who I was shaped by and sharpened by? So, and I think we have the top, you know, from the athletic, you know, from our athletic director all the way through administration, to our head coach here, obviously, who I believe in tremendously, and our assistant coaching staff. That we're getting sharpened pretty good here. I like what we're doing. So
I do too so far. I can't wait to get up there. Like I said, I definitely got to get up there and see, what you guys are looking like this year. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. I mean, you were awesome. And, staunch supporter. Yeah, I'm biased. Whatever.
Love it. I got to get you a T-shirt though.
You already know. My son gets so tired of hearing. I mean, he's at a D3, but he's like, I got to hear about Toledo again. Yeah, you're right.
I love it.
Definitely. And my cousins that are staunch Alabama fans, I am still Toledo to the end. I'm like, hey, look at Toledo football. They're like, here we go again. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. You got to have that pride.
Definitely. All day. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I have no doubt you guys are going to continue those winning ways at Toledo. And, I already know we'll be in contact more, but, I'll be watching, just like a lot of people now that have an idea of who you are now that watch the show. They're going to be peeking to see, I just thought about that. How can they get in contact with you if it's
You're good. I was gonna tell them. So so my email is on our website, but it's just my first name, Jackie.lastname Alexander @utoledo.edu. I'm also on Twitter. So Coach JAlex21, feel free to DM me, email me. I'm generally pretty good about getting back. If it takes me like a week, don't think I'm ignoring you. I'll eventually get to you. So, would love to, be a resource for anybody.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I thank you so much for coming on tonight. Once you come on the show, you consider family. So this won't be the last time you come on. and I'm sure we'll see each other outside of the season. We'll see each other on the Nike tour, the EYBL, Adidas. I'm sure we'll see each other.
All the
Run
things.
for the Roses. We'll see each other a number of times. So I thank you so much for coming on, and this won't be the last time you come on, okay?
Yes, sir. Thanks, David.
All right, you take care, okay?
You too.
Listen, I was so excited to get her on the show because, I know my cousins and my friends. I'm like, oh, you finally got somebody from Toledo on the show. That's right. I did. So now you guys know. I can't wait to see what they do because, every year I've been saying, hey, look at what Coach Cullip is doing. Look what the previous coach before Coach Cullip was doing. Like they've had it's been like a 25+ year run where they've been very good. And unless you have experienced it and you walk into that arena and you be like, man, all these fans here, they're for the women's game? Yeah, they're here for the women's game. Like this was before Caitlin Clark. This is honestly before Cheryl Swoops, to let you know how far back this has went, how the tradition at Toledo for women's basketball. And I was there in the early 90s. I'm dating myself, but whatever. But it's been like that for so long. That's 30+ years. So that's 30 years. It's been like this. It's been an awesome environment. And I used to make it a point to get to those games because the games were really good. The players, there's no question. Like Coach Alexander said, they have players that have went overseas. They have all MAC players. It's a really good situation for, you guys that are high major. Some of you are fringe high major. You need to take a look. Some of you guys that have no idea what you are, take an unofficial up there so you can get a look to see what type of environment it is. Because like she talked about, it's important to see what type of environment you're going to be in. Some schools may have a really good basketball program, but you may not like the environment. Is that a fit for you? That goes for parents as well. Is this where you want your baby to go over the next 4 years? You want your baby to be happy. You want your baby to thrive. I'm not saying Toledo is for everybody, but at least check it out to see what it is. Listen, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much. I know I've been off. Listen, I've been all over the place these last 2 months. Ever since from the NCAA Academy till now, oh gosh, I've been to about 5 or 6 cities, and over the next 6 weeks, I'll be in 8 more cities. So be patient if you missed the podcast. I miss it too. We're on episode 93, 7 more to that big 100 show. We have some special guests lined up, and I know they're going to be patient with me as we get through these last 7 before we get to 100. But thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you all next Tuesday. You all have a good weekend, and I'm David Jones. Good night.